my. How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? All right, I think we're live. I'm a little bit early, so I'm going to just hang, and I will explain for anybody that pops in that we're changing Brain Buffet World headquarters. So, and we're going to kind of talk a little bit about some things that Rick and I, hello there, whoever just popped in. I was talking with Rick from the state of Idaho. I couldn't remember, was Idaho or Utah for a second. But we were talking this morning about how unprecedented this is and just the kind of the chaos that we're all feeling. Feel free, by the way, to use the chat, everybody. This whole live thing is super new for us. So we're figuring out as we go. But that's kind of the life of a classroom teacher, right? I know that you guys are trying to figure out this whole thing as you go as well, and figuring out how do we best serve students and how do we kind of make all this stuff work. So I think I'm going to wait. I don't know what time it actually is. Oh, it's 5. Okay, so it should be time for me to really actually start rolling. And what I want to do today is talk a little bit about just, today I've had calls with a state CTE person. That was Rick earlier. Talked to my friend Scott Mosby from Oklahoma. And, it's so fascinating because my teaching style is not common. And, there are a lot of people who are really feeling anxious about teaching with all of this stuff going on. And pardon the background, I'm just realizing how terrible it looks, and it's really bugging me. The inner designer is freaking out. But we literally just tore the office apart. And like the old set that you guys saw in the CC18 videos and in the Adobe books, we just took that down, the brick walls. They were just like fake. So we took all that down, and I want to create a space that I like to work in, and then we'll figure out how to make it look cool for you guys. Where what I used to do was try and make it look cool when you walked in. And that was my thought this morning. And then Rick called, and then Scott called. And it made me think a lot about how often we make decisions about our curriculum. We make decisions about the way that we teach, the way that we address our classes, based on what we think looks good when somebody walks in. What when the students walk in, does the lab look cool? And I think that that's important. But really, what's most important is that the space that you're in is one that facilitates the work that you want to do. And that is incredibly difficult to manage, because it requires a bit of self-awareness, and it requires a bit of, I don't even know if this mic is working actually, now that I think about it. So can somebody say hi in the chat? Just let me know if anyone's paying attention. And I just don't know how to tell if this is working. I'm not seeing, I see somebody else just popped in. So welcome everybody. Thanks so much everyone for kind of popping in. We're still very new to this live chat thing, just like you guys are. I know a lot of our educators are having challenges kind of getting things rolling. So what I wanted to do was talk a little bit about why we got into this education thing. And hold on a second while I close the front door. I forgot we were just pulling the drywall out. Just like the classroom. Okay, so I don't think this mic is working. So if the sound isn't any good, I think you guys are using the mic here on the Mac. So how's the sound? Is it okay? Can anybody tell me if it's all right? Give me a thumbs up. or let me know by chat. I'm checking the volume meter here. Let me see if I pull this back up. Checking the volume meter separately. Yeah, I don't think this is working. So I can get that out of the way. All right, so really quick, what I wanted to do today was talk to teachers. And every conversation that I had, whether it was a state person or a classroom teacher, the question came up about like, you know, this is all new. When does it go back to normal? What will normal look like when that happens? What if we go back and then it starts to go cuckoo again and we all have to get back in our classroom? All of those are legitimate questions and nobody knows, okay? The person who tells you on the news that they do know, they don't know. So nobody knows. This is unprecedented. That means this hasn't happened before. So nobody knows how this is going to work out. Nobody understands it. It's novel, right? As the name implies. And that's sort of the problem for us. And it's really easy to get frustrated with that. It's really easy to get to a place where, where everything's just being thrown off. And I think I must have already talked about Jesse Valinsky because somebody sort of mentioned it, but it was a time just like this that set my teaching career on the best angle, like the best way forward that I've ever experienced. And this was when I was at McFadder Technical Center, and the curriculum that was supposed to be ready for this program that I kind of got thrown into. I don't want to tell the whole story, but it wasn't ready. And I had expectations. I walked in with expectations of how it should look, what it should feel like, how the kids should be engaging. And expectations is just often when we solve our problems, when we work at those expectations, we try and figure something out, we don't think too much. We sort of like the first thing that pops in our mind, we sort of go with it. And now that I'm an old man, I'm 50. I'll be 51 in July, at the end of July. But now that I'm an old man, I'm starting to learn a lot, and I've been having really cool conversations with my dad. And I'm just looking back at even my teaching career, which I was really happy with. Like, it felt successful to me because I had a blast and I got some recognition and things kind of turned out well in the long run. So that was really fun for me. But my degree was not in technology education, even though that's what I taught. My degree was health and phys ed. So all of my technology stuff, self-taught. I just poked around and tried things and figured it out. And one of the things that helped me figure it out the most and figure out strategies for me to work on my own was doing a little bit of self-reflection. And if you've ever heard me speak live at a conference, I talk about this all the time. Is there a way for me to share my screen in here? I don't think that there is. So I'll just type it over here. It's 16personalities.com. Boy, I really do want to. Hey, Mo, what's going on? I really do want to share my screen. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe it's over here. It's not letting me do anything. Okay, well, that's too bad. I was kind of hoping to share my screen a little bit. Hey, Bill, how's it going? So I'm really interested in kind of getting going with the stuff that I always felt like was most important in my classroom, and that's certifications. No, it's not certifications. Come on, man, it's the kids. Who got into this knowing certifications would ever be a thing, right? I believe in certifications. I think that it's a great thing. It's not the most important thing, and for a lot of our kids, it doesn't even matter. But for most of our kids, it could be something that matters if we focus on it the right way. And it's very easy to get stressed out. I know that teachers, you guys got thrown into this whole situation and it's like everything changed. This is a great time for us to reflect a little bit. Let's think about let's think about that transfer student that comes in the 14th week of class. It's just a weird time, right? And they got to come in. This is how they feel. They feel like this. Everything's in disarray. Their stuff is in boxes. They can't go out and get the things they need because dad isn't down with the car yet because the mover's in the job and right? What about the kid that socially always feels this isolated, right? They've got that personality type where they need a little, what they need to learn how to build some confidence, but how are they going to do that when we keep putting them in spaces that are a little bit socially demanding for a kid that is in a brand new social environment and has just a lot to learn, doesn't have any friends, they're so anxious about making a misstep. And you remember middle school and high school, like you make a little misstep and things follow you around. There was toilet paper on my shoe in 6th grade and oh my God, they still call me paperfoot or whatever. It's just a weird time. So I think that this could be a really great time to really talk about what it means to be an artist, what it means to be creative. And I think that the first part of creativity is self-awareness. The first part is understanding the tool that you have to work with, and that is this body, right, and its limitations. If I like to draw or I don't or whatever. There's also personality limitations. There's intellectual limitations. But sometimes we get so busy talking in our classes about technology or certification or technology or careers that we forget how hard it is to be a high school kid. We forget how hard it is to be a middle school kid. And I think that I was talking to Mosby, were you the one talking about the online teachers that their school is online? No, because your school isn't online, I don't think, Mosby. But I was talking to somebody today. Couldn't have been, maybe it was Rick talking to one of their teachers. Actually, I think it was. But he was talking about how the school is fully online, and it's actually almost a problem for the parents because the parents aren't prepared to handle this work. And they've got one kid where their teachers are still scrambling, like, how do I use Zoom? And then there's the technology teacher in the online school or the online program, and they're just laying down the work, right? And like, well, let's just keep the kids busy. Maybe this is a time to take a break. Maybe this is a time to pull back and really think about our curriculum, what we're teaching, that we remember why we're teaching. It wasn't the paycheck, right? It wasn't the lavish lifestyle of being a public school teacher. We started teaching because there was a time we really loved kids. And I think that most of the people that I guess would maybe find our small little corner of the web, you guys are probably on board with that way of thinking because it's we just seem to find each other. The Brain Buffet crew is sort of, we are creative teachers who really are trying to make our class mean more than something than a grade and a certification and a GPA and all those things. This might be the time, right? And when we do this, it is such a beautiful way to talk about creativity because with 16 personalities, again, I put it in the top of the chat there, 16personalities.com, make that an assignment for a week. Go to 16personalities.com and take the little personality quiz. And it doesn't matter what it says. If you disagree with it, that's awesome. Just write me a paragraph about anything in the little description that you thought was interesting. Write to me a paragraph about what you thought was off and it didn't really fit you, but you can see a way how to use that in your life. And what is the one question that you wanted answered about yourself and you haven't found that answer yet? Okay. Now, one thing that I always did with this, and this was the best thing that I did to connect with parents, the parents that were involved in the healthy way, the parents that were involved in the good way, the ones you could call and count on, the ones you could go out and get a beer with the parent, after school or whatever. Was I allowed to do that? I don't know if I was allowed or not, but I did it. They can't get me now. But in those conversations with those parents, the ones that did this with their child, and then they wrote in and they participated with their kid, I think also when the parent participates with their child with something like 16 personalities and the parent does it also, it opens up really cool dialogues. And to be a teacher who brings that into somebody's house, it's a really cool way to do the thing, be a part of a kid's life the way that we sort of envisioned it when we were idealistic in college and had yet to meet administrators and deal with the structure of policy and the metrics that they were measuring this year. That's the same as last year, but all new names. And if you use the names of last year, there's some penalty for some reason. That doesn't ever make sense to me. But we get so wrapped up in all of this craziness sometimes that we forget why we're there. And I think that if we can spend a little bit of time starting to think about the bigger picture stuff, because let's face it, we're an elective. And I think that our stuff is really important for 2 or 3 kids per period. But for the rest of them, come on, we're the cool class with all the computers and it's art stuff, and the teachers usually are kind of the creative one. So it's, we're the easy A, or we're hoping the kids are the easy A, or we're at least the fun class. We're the little bit of a break in their program. And maybe we should be, and maybe most classes should be. Maybe we're too wrapped up in measurement. We're too wrapped up in standards. We're too wrapped up in sort of like getting stuck in like an educational rut. Is teachers, that happens to us all the time. It's like, well, I've got my rubric, and I remember when I started making up, we are the cool class, Mosby. When I started making up my rubrics, I just remember I don't like the generic rubric that I had, and people talked about all the scientific methodologies that went into why this is the best way to do a rubric. I don't care about what the science said. I wanted the kids to think about the things that I wanted to think about. And the rubric really wasn't for evaluation for me. It was for reflection for the kids. So when they look at the rubric, the way I always wrote mine, the kid looks at the rubric and I always would just say, where do you want to stop? If you do this much, it's just C, and for that section. And if you do this much, it's an A, and this is a D minus. But and that was all that I ever set up also, right? But I had to think about the kids' personalities. I had to think about my classroom. I had to think about the culture of, actually, a lot of times you got to think about your department head and their personality. You've got to sort of figure that in, especially if they're, if they really like to be involved, and they're taking their job very seriously, then you need to just kind of work it in a little bit more, sort of their expectations. But what if, and here's really, guys, where the rubber hits the road. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately, just like, for me, there's a lot happening with, seeing, I see a counselor and there wasn't anything wrong. Except I just kind of felt unmotivated and bored and stuck in life. And everything was going great and I wasn't happy. Why aren't I happy? And I'm figuring it all out. And a big part of it was I just sort of lost the passion because I lost that connection with the kids. I forgot that I was there to, more than anything, be a mentor to a young man or young woman and to let them know that they're okay. And when mom and dad are fighting all the time and they've got their own thing going on, mom and dad don't mean to ignore that kid, but that's hard for that kid to deal with, especially if the family was kind of tight. or it's just more of the same, and that's even worse, right? For the kid where that's just the way life always has been, and they're like, I hope they get a divorce. I hope one of them just leaves, so that nothing else will be broken in the house, so that I can sleep and it's not screaming every night. Like, it's crazy what some of our kids have to go through. So my challenge to you guys is, maybe, everything's upside down. Nobody's going to be meeting their expectations. Maybe this was a bit of a gift. Maybe it's not a struggle as much as a gift. Maybe it's time to get back to helping kids figure out who they are, and recognizing how disparate the living situation, the financial situation, the home situation of all of our kids are. I saw an interesting article. I wouldn't have even thought about it. They were talking about, in Zoom rooms, some teachers are saying you're not allowed to use the fake background thing, the pretty background, whatever, it looks like space, or there's some kids embarrassed about where they live. And when teachers do that, first of all, why not let the kids have fun and be in space? Like, that's okay. They're kids. I'm an adult. I'm a 50-year-old man, and I like doing weird stuff like that. So maybe it's okay, first of all. But second of all, how that can be a source of shame for some of these kids. And we don't need to add to what they've already got going on. So maybe this is a great time for us to, instead of figuring out how to keep them busy, because when we have to keep them busy, what if there's only one computer in the house and dad needs it for work? Or and their older brother is also going to college, and it's doing an online thing. It's all online for his course. And then the 3-year-old, we got to put on Netflix to keep him busy enough so that mom can make dinner. And Netflix takes up a bunch of bandwidth too, right? So then the internet's slow, even when you can get to the computer. There's so many things. Yeah, Scott, it's a lot like the dress codes for Zoom. I don't believe in dress codes, period. Although I do like the schools that have a uniform and then kids can wear it, but they're not required to. Because that way there's at least sort of like this baseline of just kind of like, hey, we know that kid's doing a little bit rough, but the dress code will help the magnitude. And honestly, with those kind of kids, we should all be, I think, teachers. We find a kid that can't afford a clean school shirt and he's only got 2 and they're totally worn out, buy that kid a couple freaking shirts for $10 a piece. Like, I don't understand why we don't. I mean, teachers, we don't make a lot of money. I get it. Things should rub it home for us too. But find a sponsor. Find somebody that can help with those kids. The point is, maybe this is the time that we just focus on the kids. Maybe this is the time that we focus on the bigger questions. This is a great time to talk about design and talking about art. And the first, and it's in the books, the Adobe books that we did, it's in my curriculum all the time. What an artist needs to do, to learn to do, and this is so difficult because it's so invisible. An artist needs to learn to see. Because we don't see. We look at things and we jump to conclusions in our mind. Oh, it's a rabbit. I know what a rabbit looks like. So then you draw a similar rabbit, not that rabbit. What an artist does is an artist draws that rabbit that they're looking at, that model, that human figure, that building. They really look. And that's the beauty of being an artist, is that the world comes alive. You pick up a weird piece of technology, in this case, and I'm just paying attention to the design. I'm paying attention to this groovy little grill here, the microphone in the front. That's a sexy little perforated thing. It's better than kind of like a microphone type screen, right? It's better than this kind of wire look. That's just more beautiful. That's a design choice. The logo on the back, right? That's kind of cute. I got this for free when I signed up for some web service one time. I thought I might be able to use it, but I haven't figured it out yet. So somebody let me know. But I think that what we could do right now is we could be the class where we start figuring out, because we have to be innovative, right? Our curriculum changes every year, so we're kind of used to this a little bit. What if we help our other fellow teachers find ways to integrate stuff? And I think it was Rick brought up something like, for our classes, we could have the kids cook a meal for their family and then take a photo of it. Or, after you have the meal, now make a logo for a restaurant that uses, that's kind of like your meal. Even if it didn't turn out the way you wanted, like if you could create the perfect meal, what kind of design would you like? Tell me about that. If you don't have a computer, you have no, resources, go grab a napkin and a crayon and draw me a logo and send me a picture somehow. Like some of you guys where the kids don't have computers at all and no cell phones, I don't even understand what you guys are doing. And I see that Bill's saying you're good pumping the brakes, but on the other side, you're given a main focus of certification while you're on e-learning. That's because most likely it was easiest. But so I understand being given that directive, and it is easiest because the curriculum is online. And I have had kids, honestly, I do think that, well, obviously, I think that it's best that you go through the software, but I have had kids that came into my program late, and in 2 weeks, this kid downloaded a trial version of the software, and in 2 weeks, went through all the projects, did all the work, and passed the exam in 2 weeks. But that was literally on the bus watching the videos, and then he got home and he'd do them in the software really quick. He was just one of those kids that kind of remembered things. So I get that you're probably being told that there are a certain number of expectations, but nobody's going to meet any of the expectations that are out there, because the people that are making those expectations, they don't know what they're doing either. They're just as confused as we are. And the other thing is, what are you going to do when the kids don't have computers? Like, and you guys may, Bill, I think I've Skyped into your classroom before, haven't I? I think more than once even. Were you're like a tech magnet or something? I think I might be right. And Mosby, of course, I remember your room. But I know that for a lot of our teachers, they literally don't have anything. The kid has no computer. They don't have the software. Even if they have the internet, does anyone even have dial-up anymore? I don't know if they do or not, but it's really, really slow. So they can't watch videos. So how do you do e-learning then? We just haven't really. It's very difficult to get a digital certification without access to the digital tools. And most of our kids don't have them at home. So unless we packed them up with a computer on that last day, just happened to have the foresight to realize we wouldn't be back tomorrow, what are we going to do? And luckily the curriculum is online, and it's, we like to think they're engaging. You guys, if you were in on the video that we did about H5P, that is getting added into Photoshop right now. And I think that I heard from the team that at the end of the week, they'll have H5P. And what that means is the video will play. And if it's a 5-minute video, then somewhere I talk about a critical concept, it stops the video and puts a multiple choice question up right on the screen in the video. And they have to get that right. If they get it wrong, it backs up the video to where I start explaining the answer. And they watch that video again until they get the right answer. Then they have to watch it to the end. And at the very end, there's another kind of just page that comes up. They just have to click that they watched it all the way to the end. So I think that they could actually scrub through it or whatever. I mean, kids will figure that out on the first day. So they could just find it and then get the points. But of course, it's For me, a lot of things were just sort of honor system and sort of a trust policy. And that worked well in my classroom. But for this week, I'm going to wrap up now with just a couple things. My suggestion is have the kids do 16 personalities. Then, depending on your population, depending on the resources that kids have them create a logo that represents their personality, have them write a page about it, make an advertisement, maybe a dating bio. That might actually be a kind of funny one, an online high school dating bio, and you have to include some of the elements from your personality, including one of the reasons that you might be difficult to get along with sometimes. That would be fun. This is also a really cool time. No, we didn't do those. Well, okay, I see that. Well, we need to. Let's, as soon as this thing's over, let me Skype in and hang out with your kids for a period or two, Bill. But think about ways that you can sort of be very, very flexible with the way that kids turn things in. And it's kind of like, even in my curriculum, when I created it in my classroom, I said, here's the project, here's the standards. But the way that our lesson plans are written out, if you've seen them, those objectives, that's what they need to learn. I didn't care if they learned it by going through my videos or their own videos. And I didn't care if they created a project that looked like mine or something totally different. If they could prove to me that they knew everything that I wanted them to know from their project, or like, I'll go, well, I don't see where show me where you used a mask or how that works. And I just, pull up an image, pull up the original and just make a quick mask on that again, and I would just spot check it. And they knew that that was coming. So they generally did all the work because they had no idea what I was going to ask them about. So 16 personalities. I recommend sending that out. It's a great way for the kids to find out a little bit about themselves. I always gave extra credit if mom and dad did it and they had a discussion about it. That might be a really cool way. And actually, to kind of bring it into where we're at now, we could even say, with this pandemic and everything going on, did you learn anything about your personality that that maybe you could really start to develop if it was a weakness, or really capitalize or offer your help in that area because you realize now when you did that test, you're like, oh yeah, I do have a strength in that area. Maybe that's a way that you could help out around the house with mom and dad, or kind of responsibilities at home or whatever. But once you get mom and dad involved a little bit, you start doing things that help the kids kind of move forward in life and just think about who they are, and then help them see. Once they start to see themselves, then they'll see, oh my gosh, I never noticed that about myself. Then next week, we're going to talk about how in art and in design, that's the whole gig. Wow, I never noticed that the empty space in an E is a U. If you just put an E like in a box that perfectly fit an E, that negative space from an E is a U. That's super important for a designer to know that little trick, or a backwards C, right? If the E is backwards or whatever, it could be a C. But all kinds of ways to kind of think about that. But it starts with recognizing that even things that you've seen 100 times, like the kid in the mirror, there's things about that you don't know. There's things you're not aware of. And then let's start working that in. And we can kind of do a little bit of personality stuff, a little bit of the fun, fun activities where we get to know kids. So let me just kind of check on notes here. I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to really try and keep these always to just about 30 minutes. The quizzes on the site, excellent. Video lesson, excellent. Record video lessons. So where do you put those? Do you have like Google Classroom? I know Mosby uses Google Classroom. Or are you using YouTube or something to record your video lessons? Where are you sharing those? This is why Zoom is better, because I can give you guys the mic. That'd be a little bit more fun, especially when we're small little groups like this. This is really fun. And I appreciate you guys being here, by the way. It means a lot. We're not good at promoting this yet because we haven't been able to figure out a schedule. Oh, one last thing. Jackie said that on our Facebook group, and please join our Facebook group and have kids join our our YouTube channel, because we're going to start promoting more things for kids, and more videos where we're talking directly to kids too. So that's really kind of beginning tomorrow. Oh, Denise, hi, welcome. I'm glad you're here. I don't know. Yeah, I like the Zoom interface a little bit better too. The problem is that on Zoom, we did Facebook with Zoom, and then people made comments on Facebook, but I couldn't see them in the Zoom room. So just like you guys, we're figuring it out and trying to learn it. But yeah, it would be really fun. Another thing I want to do soon, and all of you guys that are here are certainly going to be some of the people we try and pick first, is we'd love to just interview you guys and you tell us about your program, maybe something that you bumped into, whether it was a problem or kind of serendipitous, oh, wow, this is a great idea. Just when we share our stories with each other, we might find that we've got lots of ways that we can kind of help each other out. So yeah, this video will all be on our YouTube channel, and please like and subscribe and all that. We're trying to get ourselves to the right place so that we have a little bit more control about how we display everything. And we can make it so kids don't get any ads at all, even if they don't have a paid subscription. And I think that's probably where we're gonna go. We're not trying to make money off of this really. This is our giving back kind of thing. So on our YouTube channel, there is a playlist, and I'm new to all of this, but there is a playlist that we saved them all in called live broadcasts or live streams or something. And all of our stuff, whether it's kid or teacher focused, will be in there. So yeah, the one from last week was fun with Rick on using Camtasia. If you've never used Camtasia, it's a great piece of software. And right now, a lot of districts are being pretty generous about supporting teachers with that kind of software. Google Classroom and YouTube for video. Excellent. You know, maybe one of you guys, and I know that Scott is also really good on Google Classroom. Maybe one of you guys could do one of these with us, and you show me Google Classroom. And since I don't know about it, but I know about teaching, I just want to be able to ask questions. Like, I'll be the dummy in the room, and you guys can kind of show other teachers maybe how to use or implement Google Classroom, or maybe you know, uncommon features that we could share. So that might be really fun. I really like the idea of starting to work with some of you guys. And I know sometimes the compensation is an issue just because you're a teacher and you can't take money or whatever, but we can just figure out ways to work together and do something like visit your classroom, or, you know, just do something special for you guys. We just really would love to start building a community where we all help each other out, because this stuff changes fast. So that's it for me, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, went over time. So thanks so much for taking the time and visiting. Check out our channel, and I will be here tomorrow at 5 o'clock to give the student version. And I'll probably do that. It'll be on Facebook, but it'll also be a Zoom room, and we'll send out the info. You know, and let's just see what happens. I was going to say I was worried about the security and stuff, but I never did in the classroom worry about the security, and never really had problems. No more than any others. As a matter of fact, I feel like the teachers that clamped down had more problems than I did. So let's just give it a try and see. Hopefully we don't bump into any problems. So thanks everyone for being here, and I'll see you guys tomorrow where we talk about the student-facing side of this lesson. All right, peace, guys.